Good afternoon and welcome to Lunch Break Live with Tea Party Patriots Action. I'm Bill Pasco, Tea Party Patriots man in Washington, and I am flying solo this week as we prepare for the Christmas holiday and Congress getting the heck out of town. I'll be giving you both the Washington Report and the call to action. Let's get right to it. The House and Senate are both scheduled to return today and stay in session through Thursday. This week in the House, they'll return today with the first vote set for 6:30 p.m. At that time, the House is scheduled to consider 33 bills under suspension of the rules. On Tuesday and Wednesday, most likely, the House will take up actually, it looks like it may be Thursday, that the House will take up a continuing resolution to keep the government funded until March. They'll have to take that up under suspension of the rules, so it will require Democrat votes to pass. And then the 118th Congress will be done and they'll go home. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Last week in the Senate, on Wednesday, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer made an attempt to jam the incoming Trump administration. He wanted to ensure a Democrat majority on the National Labor Relations Board for the first 2 years of the new Trump administration by confirming the board's current chairman, Lauren McGarity McFerrin, to a new 5-year term. But Schumer was gambling. He hadn't done a head count before he called the vote. With the vote tied at 49-49 and Vice President Harris on the way from her office at the Naval Observatory to cast a tie-breaking vote, West Virginia's Joe Manchin walked into the chamber. Schumer had not expected that, and when Manchin cast his vote against ending debate, he tipped the scale to 50-49 against invoking cloture. Manchin killed the effort, making Harris's trip irrelevant. Republicans worked hard to get their members there for that vote, including Marco Rubio, who's going to leave the Senate soon to serve as Secretary of State, and Mike Braun, who's been elected to serve as Indiana's next governor and is busy putting together his administration. The only Republican who missed the vote was Roger Marshall of Kansas, who has strong labor ties. This week in the Senate will come back today with the first vote set for 5:30 p.m. At that time, the Senate will proceed to a roll call vote on ending debate on the motion to concur with respect to the House message accompanying H.R. 5009, that is, the National Defense Authorization Act. Then, based on the Majority Leader's cloture filings, I anticipate we'll see a vote on the NDAA itself, then a motion to proceed to H.R. 82, the Social Security Fairness Act. We'll also likely see votes to confirm 2 members of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. And then later in the week, maybe Thursday, more likely Friday, the Senate will vote on the continuing resolution that will have just come over from the House. And once they pass that, it's home for Christmas. Now let's talk about Trump and the media. Some very interesting news. Friday evening, the Associated Press reported that ABC News has agreed to pay $15 million towards Donald Trump's presidential library to settle Trump's defamation suit against George Stephanopoulos', quote, inaccurate on-air assertion that the president-elect had been found civilly liable for raping writer E. Jean Carroll, end quote. As part of the agreement, ABC News posted an editor's note to its website. That note expressed regret over Stephanopoulos' incorrect statements during a March broadcast of the ABC Sunday morning show this week. That's right, ABC News apologized to President Trump. In addition, the network will also pay Trump's lawyers $1 million. The settlement was reached Friday, the same day a federal district judge in Florida ordered Trump and Stephanopoulos to sit for depositions this week. Those depositions are now mooted by the settlement. Now let's talk about the DOJ's IG report on FBI in the crowd on January 6th. Last Thursday, Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz's office released a report revealing that 26 FBI confidential human sources were in Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021. According to the IG report, only 3 of them were assigned by the FBI to be at the Capitol. We have no indication why the other 23 were there. The IG report said none of them were authorized to enter the Capitol or commit illegal acts. Of course, that's not the same as saying none of them entered the Capitol or committed illegal acts or encouraged others to do the same. In fact, the IG report said 4 of them entered the Capitol building and 13 others entered restricted areas around the Capitol. None of them have been prosecuted. Asked in an interview for the upcoming year-end Person of the Year issue of Time magazine what he would do about his January 6 supporters, President Trump said he would review the cases on a case-by-case basis with a view to pardoning or commuting sentences of those who did not commit acts of violence. And on an unrelated note, on Wednesday, FBI Director Christopher Wray, who was appointed to that position 7 years ago by President Trump, announced he would resign in January rather than allow President Trump to fire him after being sworn in. Though President Trump cheered Wray's announced resignation on Truth Social, Wray's decision to resign will prevent Trump's choice to lead the agency, Kash Patel, from moving in right away. Under the terms of the Vacancies Reform Act, there will be 2 options to fill that vacancy. The position can be filled on a temporary basis by someone else who has been confirmed by the Senate or by a person who has served in a senior capacity elsewhere in that agency for at least 90 days in the year before the resignation. Kash Patel does not meet either of those qualifications, so the odds are very good that the sitting Deputy Director, Paul Abate, would become the acting director of the FBI while waiting for Kash Patel to be confirmed by the Senate. Trump says the GOP will get rid of daylight savings time. On Friday evening, President Trump posted to his Truth Social account, quote, "The Republican Party will use its best efforts to eliminate daylight savings time, which has a small but strong constituency, but shouldn't. Saving time is inconvenient and very costly to our nation," end quote. A bill to make daylight saving time permanent passed the Senate in 2022, but stalled in the House. Don Trump Jr. got into the act following his father's post with one of his own saying, quote, "Leave it daylight savings time always," end quote, adding in several emojis of the number 100 to indicate agreement. The Trump transition team did not respond to questions from NBC News seeking clarification as to whether President Trump supports eliminating daylight saving time or making it permanent. The U.S. government tried making daylight savings time permanent back in the 1970s. Richard Nixon signed a bill in January of 1974 to make daylight savings time permanent as a means to reduce energy use in the U.S. after the 1973 oil crisis. The belief was that more sunlight in the evening would result in lower energy consumption. When the new law went into effect, it was broadly supported by the public. Opinion polls at the time showed 79% of the public supported the change. But after the first winter, support dropped to just 42%. People didn't like going to work in the dark or sending their children off to school in the dark. Before the year was up, Congress repealed the law. The current system, in which we change clocks forward 1 hour in March and back 1 hour in November, began only in 2007 and is the result of decades of study and compromise. Now let's talk about the lame duck congressional agenda. As of this broadcast, Monday midday, there is still no agreement on a spending deal to keep the government open beyond Friday night. Funding under the current continuing resolution expires at midnight, and no one wants even a temporary partial government shutdown the weekend before Christmas. So I'm still confident that the leaders will soon release final text of a continuing resolution to keep the government funded at close to its current funding levels through the middle of March of next year. That will make government funding discussions for the remaining 6 months of the 2025 fiscal year one of the additional priorities of the first 100 days for the incoming Trump administration. Now let's talk about the congressional agenda for the 119th Congress. We're still waiting to see a puff of white smoke regarding the discussions between House and Senate GOP leaders over just how to move legislation through the reconciliation process next year. If you missed last week's episode, you might want to go back and listen to this particular discussion, which we engaged at length. Here's the short version. Incoming Senate GOP leader John Thune is very big on pushing 2 reconciliation bills next year. The first would contain border and energy and defense provisions, could be put together relatively quickly, and should be able to pass relatively easily. The goal would be to pass a budget resolution through both houses, then pass the reconciliation bill, then present it to President Trump for his signature shortly after he's sworn in. That would put points on the board early and build momentum for what is sure to be a heavier lift, the tax reconciliation bill, which will likely take months to negotiate, even though they're only negotiating among themselves, that is, among Republicans. Once that second bill is done, move it through both houses, then send it to the president for his signature. On the other side is House Ways and Means Chair Jason Smith, who, frankly, is worried that he might not be able to pass a tax-only reconciliation bill. He knows he's got a big pot of trouble on his hands regarding the state and local taxes deduction. Those blue state Republicans really want to restore the full deduction that was capped in 2017 at $10,000. But here's the thing. There are fewer blue state Republicans than there were before. We lost 3 from New York and another 3 from California, I believe, meaning that the influence of those blue state Republicans is going to be reduced in the next Congress. Speaker Johnson wants to be supportive of his House colleague, the chairman of the Tax Writing Committee, but even more than that, Speaker Johnson wants to be supportive of President Trump and his desires. As of last week, it certainly appears that Trump's team, at least, is with Thune on this crucial decision. Speaker Johnson was reported to have been ready to have a conversation with the president about this sensitive subject at Saturday's Army-Navy football game, which was held on the outskirts of D.C. I have not yet gotten a read on the result of that conversation. Everyone in the know has been more concerned this morning with the contours of the CR negotiations. We'll keep our eye on this. Now to the Jenny Beth Show. Episode 102 of the Jenny Beth Show dropped last Wednesday. This episode features Jenny Beth's conversation with Phil Kerpen of American Commitment. The two delve into the origins of the REINS Act and its latest iteration, with Phil providing excellent detail on how this legislation could be used to restore the executive branch to its original constitutional moorings. It's a great discussion. Highly recommended. And that's our Washington Report for this week. Now to the call to action. Please visit the front page of our website, teapartypatriots.org. That's teapartypatriots.org. to sign up to support President Trump's nominees and his agenda. You can find a form right there on the front page and use it to join our team of patriots committed to defending individual liberty, shrinking the size and scope of government, and enacting the Make America Great Again agenda. That's it for this week. Before I say goodbye, please allow me a moment to thank you all again for all you've done to help fight the attack on our values. We've been fighting for more than 15 years now for personal freedom, economic freedom, and a debt-free future. And we're only as good as our grassroots. That's you. Without you, we don't exist. Without your support, we are irrelevant. So we're grateful that you take the time to watch this broadcast every week, and we're grateful to those of you who take the time to share this broadcast with your family, friends, and fellow patriots. When we say we couldn't do it without you, we really mean it. So when we say we're grateful for your support, we really mean it. We will not be back next week, as next Monday will be 2 days before Christmas, and we will not be back the week after either, because that Monday is 2 days before New Year's, and we'll be taking some much-needed family time. So we will not be back until Monday, January 6th. Until then, please have a joyous holiday season with your family, and be well and be active.